It's time to talk NFL Draft once again on the Our Lads Football Network as we recap what took place over the weekend, specifically on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And of course, a lot activity yesterday with rookie free agent signings and such. Ryan Dunleavy joining me from the New York Post. And Ryan, we talked a lot about the Jets and the Giants on Friday. We did our day one recap show, and really that's the brunt of what took place for both New York teams as far as how good their drafts went. The rest of it is kind of the type of players that just make up the depth on your team, and hopefully you made the right calls there because depth is so important. And the New York teams are getting a lot of recognition as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, after the first day, I thought it was very easy to group them together. I thought maybe they had two of the three or four best drafts. I thought the Jets' great draft continued. I would tell you they had, I think they had probably the second best draft behind the Ravens. The Giants, I thought, dipped in day two. I thought both their or three of their I thought two of their three day two picks were reaches. And look, I mean, on their board, they were probably the best available. They weren't from the scouts and coaches I talked to around the league. Thought they were reaches.
You're talking about Wan'Dale Robinson in the second round?
Wan'Dale Robinson in round 2 and Cordell Flott in round 3. I thought they were both reaches. And then on day 3, I thought the Giants had a good day, especially the linebacker from Cincinnati. I thought was a really good pick.
You mean Indiana? Oh, you like Beavers too? That's right, Beavers in the 6th round. Yeah, I like McFadden too.
Actually, I like both of them, to be honest with you. Yeah, the linebacker from Indiana and the linebacker from Cincinnati. I thought they were both really good picks at a position of need for the Giants. By 2023, I would be surprised that those were their two starters at inside linebacker. So, once Blake Martinez is off the team. So, look, I thought the Giants had a great day 1, a good day 3, and I was confused by their day 2. The Jets really didn't even have a day 3. I mean, they had one pick, right? And then, or two picks. And then I thought they had a great day 1 and a great day 2.
Okay, so by the way, just posted the Jets draft recap I did with Jan Levine yesterday, so that's available. Let's get into the rest of the NFL. And we both agree on Baltimore. The only thing with Baltimore's draft is going to be how good or not Kyle Hamilton turns out to be. Because, again, a lot of people were thinking a couple of weeks ago he could have been the second pick of the draft. So was his 40 time? Look, I think the 40 time where he went, that settles it, because now you can't complain about the 40 time for a safety with the 14th pick in the draft. That's completely different in my mind, especially with someone with his talent and at his height. So that's different, but still he needs to turn out to be, obviously a top player for them. But the Linderbaum pick, we all know how good the kid is. And then for them to be able to get a Jabo and then Travis Jones in round 3, it's like you always can count on the Ravens, because what the Ravens do, because they never have top picks, is they just sit there and they let the good players drop to them. Then they just gobble them up.
That's it. They wait for other teams to draft for need, or they wait for other teams to make their reaches, like we talked about Kenyon Green or whatever, somebody like that. And they always have a pretty good team, so they never have a huge glaring need. So they just pounce on best available. Their best available always seems to match up to the league-wide consensus, which helps then develop the media consensus. And all of a sudden you come away with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, who are, again, they weren't top 5 picks based on position, but they're top 10 picks based on talent and clean. Like, they're two of the 10 guys you're most likely to say, give me 5 guys here in this draft, 5 Pro Bowls during their career. Linderbaum and Hamilton would have been 2 of the first 5 guys you named. So, they come away with that. Then because they're in a position where they win a lot, they can take a Jabo who, probably won't play this year, and give him the perfect position to succeed, playing for a Harbaugh brother under the defensive coordinator from Michigan last year, who helped him blossom into a star, with, on the other side of Odafe Owe, who was his high school teammate, who was the reason he started playing football. He's like, wait a minute, Odafe didn't ever play football and he looks pretty good at this. Maybe I should start playing football. And now they're reunited. So, like, literally the perfect situation. And then, like you mentioned, Travis Jones was getting late round one hype as like a possible pick for the Chiefs at like 29 or 30, and he ends up going 70 something to them. I mean, just a great draft. Well, no surprise, always a great draft. That's why their scouting director, Joe Ortiz, was up for the Giants general manager job, because draft after draft after draft, he nails it.
Just look how good the Jets draft is with Joe Douglas, who came from Baltimore.
Correct.
So
now look, Joe Douglas whiffed on his first draft. I mean, Baltimore never whiffs. Joe Douglas whiffed on his first draft. His second draft I thought was good. This one I thought was a grand slam.
By the way, also keep an eye on Tyler Beatty, their 6th round draft pick, the running back, because they are still trying to get their running backs healthy from last year, and Beatty's got a lot of talent. Okay. Also, you might think it's academic to talk about the bad teams because of the positioning, but I don't think it is. And I often say this. Yeah, you could say a player's a reach, or everybody pegs Stingley for like the 12th pick, and he goes all the way up to number 3. But for me, after that, and even Green, I think Green could have went late first round, early second. But for me, I have to look at the whole draft when it's all over. And when I look at the whole draft when it's over, I just thought Houston did pretty good, because talent-wise, they were able to get players like Petrie and Mechie and Charlie and the linebacker Harris from Alabama, and even the running back Pierce from Florida, who everybody loved. So I think overall, when you get those 6 players in one draft, I thought they did well. And I also think Detroit did well. To be able to go draft and trade up to get Williams from Alabama, and I like a couple of the other players they drafted as well. And it'll be interesting to see if that kid Houston from Jacksonville State, Deion Sanders kid, pans out. But I thought both Detroit and Houston did a good job.
I thought they did. Oh, good. I think so. I ranked everybody's draft afterwards for the post, and gave them a grade, and then ranked them 1 through 32. I had the Lions 10, the Lions 9, and the Texans 14. So top half drafts, I thought.
Yes.
Better than you're used to out of those two franchises, I thought.
Yes. Yes.
But look, I mean, the Lions were gifted Aiden Hutchinson. And then I liked the trade up for Williams. I thought that was a good aggressive move. I don't like that they didn't address quarterback. I thought that trade up was going to be for Kenny Pickett. It wasn't. Sure. The Texans, I still kind of think, I definitely think they reached for Green. I kind of think they reached for Stingley, but I understand there weren't a lot of trade back options for teams at the top 5. Giants didn't get any calls on the 5th pick, so I can't imagine the Texans were getting calls on the 3rd. The teams that impressed after Baltimore and the Jets, the teams I had ranked 3, 4, 5 were the Eagles. The Chiefs. I had 3. I loved what they did. Everybody thought they were going to go receiver, build up this offense. Instead, they said, no, look, we realize people are kind of catching up to us in terms of offense. You look at Buffalo, of course, and we're going to actually need to get a stop somewhere along the line to win these games. We can't count on scoring 8 touchdowns on 8 possessions anymore. So we're going to need to win 35-31, not 48-45. And we're going to need to get a stop somewhere. And I think 4 of their first 5 picks were defense.
Well, where they drafted, though, made a lot of sense, because once you get through, that was such a rush to those early receivers. To get Sky Moore with the 54th pick was perfect. They could have easily thought about taking him with their 30th pick.
Correct. So I thought that they played that perfect. They played the receiver game perfectly. I'm a Karlaftis fan. I think he's going to be a really good player, especially in that defense for Steve Spagnuolo. I know that defense well. And then Trent McDuffie was a borderline top 10, top 12 pick that they stole in the 20s. I thought they did it. And I love Leo Chenal from Wisconsin. You can never go wrong with a Wisconsin linebacker.
Yep. So Chenal and Karlaftis. That's a good
Joshua Williams, the corner from Fayetteville State, is an absolute ball hawk. So like what they did all around. And then the Eagles, I had 4. that's kind of including for when I do draft grades, I limit it to this weekend. So the Raiders and Packers Devontae Adams trade doesn't figure into my draft grades. But this weekend I include the Eagles trading the 18th pick for AJ Brown,
Sure.
which is a heist.
Yes.
Which is a heist. So I had them for Jordan Davis is a good player for them. To me, they have two all-time greats for them, Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey, and they got who knows if the replacements will be anywhere near as good as them, but they got the guys they can plug into those spots when they leave, and Jordan Davis and Cam Jurgens, plus AJ Brown. I know they had to pay him $100 million, but they got their number one receiver instead of taking another flyer for a third straight year on a draft guy. Instead of, let's take Treylon Burks and hope he's better than Jalen Reagor. They said, no, we're getting somebody better than Jalen Reagor. And then they were the team. I don't understand why more teams didn't do it in the third round who took Nakobe Dean. I understand the injury flags, but once you're into the 50s and 60s in picks, you can take Nakobe Dean. Don't understand how he slipped to 83, I think it was. So I thought that was a home run. And then fifth, I had the Steelers, and I bumped the Steelers up because not only did they get their number one quarterback, they got the league's number one quarterback. We thought going into this draft, maybe they're close. Maybe they're close. Maybe this isn't such a bad class. Quarterbacks will get pushed up. No, what the league told you was there was one quarterback worth taking in this draft. There was one who could be a starter, and he fell to the Steelers without them having to move up. I thought that's the reason I bumped them up to a top 5 grade, is because they didn't have to trade up, and they got the only quarterback that the league thought was worth having as a starter. So to me, and then they did what they always do, whether it's Antonio Brown or Juju, they found 2 mid-round receivers who will probably be, 850 to 900 yard receivers for them in George Pickens and Calvin Austin.
By the way, was it the Eagles that signed Carson Strong?
I don't remember who signed Carson Strong.
I'll have to check that out, because I'm pretty positive it was the Eagles, which I thought was kind of, first of all, I think now there's no doubt that the NFL teams. It was okay. It was. They would definitely.
And he got $320,000 guaranteed, which is an enormous amount for a UFA.
Yeah, it is no question. The NFL teams were scared away by his knee, so that's the reason he didn't get drafted, because he's clearly not a rookie free agent talent.
Correct.
So consider the Eagles would, which again we talked about this with some of the other quarterbacks and the strategy of some of these teams. Hey, well, let's bring this kid in, and we'll see how Hurts does, and we'll see if this kid has anything. Because after the first 2 guys come off the board next year, then we can decide what to do, because who knows whether or not some of those other quarterbacks are going to turn out to be first round worthy. Whether it's the kid from Kentucky, whether it's Keaton Slovis, we have no idea. But there's only 2 superstar quarterbacks that everybody's going to go after next year, and the Eagles may or may not be interested, but at least they have a fallback option in case Carson Strong's knee turns out to be okay, or Hurst actually, of course, turns out to be pretty good after all. By the way, to get Pickens with the second round for the Steelers was also pretty nice, considering, and Austin. To get Pickens and Austin to go with the receivers, and let's just hope that those guys know how to catch. I know Austin has some issues in that department, but he has a lot of speed. Pickens, on the other hand, seems to be pretty good in that department, but we'll see. Okay,
but he has some off-field stuff they've gotta.
And then getting Connor Haywood. Now, what is that? How was he related?
Brother.
Wow. That's a younger brother then, isn't it? Okay.
The Steelers have 4 sets of brothers on their team. Oh. That is unbelievable.
They believe in family. That's nice.
I can't believe there's 4 in the NFL, let alone 4 on one team.
That's cool. Okay. Now, another team I thought that did pretty good was Atlanta, because they did not go crazy and do something stupid like draft one of those quarterbacks at 8. So again, this is why the idea of thinking next year is definitely in the cards for Atlanta. So they go and get London, a serious need, and then they get Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone, because they have major issues on the edge. So they get both of those guys. They also get Ritter, and they're going to have to draft him early. So, a lot of people were thinking Ritter could have gone in the first round. Well, they don't have to. They got him later on. And then they get Algier, a guy that might be able to pan out for them as a running back because they can use another running back in their backfield. So I think overall, look, I don't know if any of these guys are going to be, besides London, has the capability of being an impact player. But this is a team that needed a lot of depth and a lot of young players, and I think they got 5 guys that can definitely add to their list.
I'll give you another team that I think did something very similar to the Falcons was the Seahawks.
Yes, I like the Seahawks.
Yes, had a very good draft. There was thoughts, the Falcons will take one quarterback at 8. The Seahawks might take one at 9. Neither did. The Seahawks actually didn't take one the whole draft, I don't think.
No.
And then Falcons got theirs obviously in the 3rd round. But Seahawks, I thought it's funny, right? It took them trading Russell Wilson to finally get the offensive lineman that Russell Wilson had been clamoring for years. So now they have Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, 2 guys that, I mean, they could theoretically be their day one
could be.
starting tackle. That one on the left, one on the right, and they could start 2 rookie tackles. Lucas, maybe they'll wait till second year or middle of the first year, but those could be their week 1 rookie starting tackles. So that'll be a good situation for whoever the future quarterback is next year or the year after. Maybe it's Baker Mayfield this year. They got Boy Mafe, who I thought was a borderline first-round pick. They got him early in the 2nd round. Kenneth Walker. I think we know Kenneth Walker is just going to go there and just pound. Pete Carroll wants to pound the ball, so he'll look at him as his next 20 carry back. He's not going to – no rotations or whatever. I think this tells you. Chris Carson is no longer the feature back there.
Well, it's up to Penny. It's up to Penny to stay healthy.
I mean, Rashad Penny's already in his last. I mean, he finished nicely. It took him 3 years to develop. He's already in his last year of his contract. So I think Kenneth Walker will probably be the lead dog there for you guys listening for fantasy reasons. And then I thought one of the absolute steals of the draft, one of the guys that I was scratching about. How is this guy not a 2nd-round pick? How is this guy not a 3rd-round pick? I'm sorry. You don't win the
Jim Thorpe,
the Jim Thorpe Award as the best defensive back. And it's is he tall enough? Is he fast enough? He can play. Yeah. He can play. He's good. Take him in the 2nd round if he's not a 1st-round pick. You don't go a 4th round for Kobe Bryant. I thought he was an absolute steal as a 4th-round pick. I couldn't believe. Honestly, I thought when the Giants were at 81, I thought he was going to be the pick for corner, and I thought he was a steal then. For him to slip all the way to the Seahawks in the 4th round is a heist.
And then, of course, they got our boy, Bo Melton, in the 7th round. I was a little disappointed that Melton, especially how fast he ran and how well he did at the Senior Bowl, that he lasted till the 7th round. But
yeah, I was off on that. I thought he would be a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
That's what I had poked around and heard, and I guess he with his speed and whatnot, look, his numbers weren't that productive, but you have to look past that and realize he was playing with inconsistent quarterbacks his whole life. So I think he's got a chance to really make that team.
Okay. Now, also, the Packers, just want to mention, they were just going crazy. You could think on Thursday night, the fans, they didn't draft a receiver again. But I thought they did a really good job because they get Watson in round 2, and there was some talk that he could have slid into the 1st round. They also get Dubes in the 4th round, and that's a guy that's dealing with some injury concerns. But if he checks out, he was the number 1 option for Carson Strong the last 2 years. And they get the kid Toure, who was an FCS star, went to Nebraska and became their number 1 receiver, and he goes in round 7. So when you have Aaron Rodgers, he lifts all those guys up. If you can run routes and if you catch the ball, you can become a very good receiver when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. So I think they did a real good job considering they did not use a 1st-round pick on a receiver to add depth to that room.
I mean, look, I love the Watson trade. I can't believe the Vikings traded with the Lions. And the Lions took Jamison Williams and then traded with the Packers, and the Packers took Christian Watson. Like, you just made your life for your defensive backs miserable for the next 8 years.
Well, this is a new general manager, somebody that, I don't think anybody predicted this guy was going to be the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings.
Very, very, considering the Vikings secondary is a weakness, that was two very strange trades. Yeah, I like the Packers trading up for Watson. For me, overall, I think they had a good day 2, a good day 3. I can't get past. I didn't like what they did day 1 at all.
Speaking of the Vikings, you throw in those trades, and they were on my list of the most confusing drafts. I just didn't like their draft. I mean, they go after a safety in round 1. All right, big deal. Booth lasted to the second round in my opinion, because there are issues with him. Because there's so many people thought he was so talented he could have gone to the top 15, but you never knew where this kid was going to go. So the fact that he lasted round 2, now maybe it's a bargain, but I'm concerned with Booth.
I think it is. He was the one pick. I agree with what you're saying on the Vikings, but Booth was the one pick I liked.
And then Ingram in the second round from LSU, the guard from I mean, come on, what are you doing there? The only other pick I liked was Chandler, the running back in round 5. But I just didn't. I was confused by their draft, and then to top it off, the trades they made in their division as well.
The 2 drafts that confused me the most, I would say, well, let's get the obvious out of the way. I'm sure he's losing sleep at night over Greg and Ryan criticizing, but Bill Belichick's draft is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, he's taking Cole Strange, who was a consensus third rounder in the first round. He's taking Tyquan Thornton, who we know ran the fastest 40-yard dash time this year. He's taking him in the second round. He was still like a consensus 4th round pick. He's taking guys 2 rounds too early. Bailey Zappi. Now, look, I tweeted this actually, so I'm sure he's okay with it. Former GM Executive of the Year Randy Muller is. I was talking to him. He's one of the people I called before the drafts. He has a football advisory firm, Muller Football Advisory. He's good. He's on Twitter. He knows his stuff. And he had his quarterback rankings before the draft were Pickett 1, Bailey Zappi 2. And so I know somebody who's worn the shoes, who's been a GM, who's from that Parcells tree, likes Bailey Zappi. So I'm willing to say, okay, but like, where's he fit with New England? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
He's the backup to your second-year quarterback.
Well, but remember we talked about that. Some teams are drafting these quarterbacks to be long-term backups.
I guess, but I mean, that's not what Bailey Zappi to me is. Not a long-term bet. He's a boomer bust guy. He's not like, you're not going to have Bailey Zappi as like a 10-year backup. Like, nobody knows if he can play. And if he can play, he's probably going to be sensational. So like, it's a very strange. It's not like you draft a guy from like Iowa to be your long-term backup who's been in a pro offense for years. Like, very, very strange. I did like the Marcus Jones pick. I know he's 5'8", but he's super competitive.
Playmaker. Yeah.
Great. Awesome with the ball. You just know that somewhere down the road, whether it's this year or 3 years from now, he'll be getting snaps on offense somehow as like on trick plays. They'll use him. He'll have somehow, you pencil this prediction in for a bold prediction. Somewhere in his career, he'll have a game where he'll have an offensive touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and a special teams touchdown for the Patriots somewhere along the way. Like, he'll be one of those Edelman type guys. Yeah, I love that pick. Didn't like the rest of their draft. And the other one that confused me, that might not be a consensus confusion like the Patriots, is the Commanders. I thought their first 3 picks were all reaches. At least the first time they didn't pick Dotson at 11. They traded down to 16. But I thought 16 was early for Dotson. And then I thought the second round pick, Mathis, I thought was early, and Brian Robinson, I thought was way early. I mean, he was a 1-year player. He was good last year, but he was he was their third running back for 4 years. So, and then Sam Howell. Look, I get it. He was the number 1 quarterback at one point in the draft last year. He's the number 1 quarterback, so you take a flyer on him. At least they waited to the 4th round. I get it, but. You know how I feel about mid-round quarterbacks. Like, if Carson Wentz isn't the guy, it isn't going to be Sam Howell. It's going to be somebody they draft in 23, or they're going to sign Baker Mayfield as a free agent next year. It isn't going to be Sam Howell's team. But I get it. I guess at least he was the number 1 quarterback at one point. Whereas if you draft, I don't know, one of the other guys who was Carson Strong or whatever, you're never going to give him the chance.
Yeah, and by the way, the Patriots, what I did like about it was, besides Jones, what I did like is that they drafted two running backs that I like as nice little sleepers, both Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong, the FCS running back. So it's easy to look at what their philosophy was. We needed to get faster. We needed to get a premium kick returner. They lost their number one kick returner, so they get Jones. They get speed with Thornton Jones. This is a running first team. They add two more running backs. We had a guard who is going to hopefully be a big time run blocker for us. So you understood what their philosophy was, but yes, how they went about it was a little weird. And then, like you mentioned, I obviously agree with you with Washington as well. And the Chargers, now I like the Zion Johnson pick because he's a good player. I just don't understand. I haven't heard anything. Is he moving to tackle? I mean, they still have a major issue at right tackle, and they didn't get a right tackle in the draft. So again, I haven't spent any time finding out whether or not they're going to move him to tackle, which I don't think they're going to. So I don't know what so again, I like Zion Johnson. I don't really like the rest of the draft. I don't know what else they did. They didn't do anything at right tackle. So okay, they added Spiller. They needed a number 2 running back. That's fine. I actually thought that they should have maybe even tried to get one of those number 1 running backs and use Eckler the way he should be used when Gordon was there. But okay, they did what they did. But I didn't really like their draft.
Chargers, okay, I was somewhere in the middle on theirs. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any strong takes on the Chargers draft. The Cowboys draft, I mean, they're the team America talks about the most, right? I thought that was very confusing too. Tyler Smith, I thought he was pretty early. He's very boomer bust. Sam Williams, I mean, that's the most Cowboys pick of all time. Like, is super talented, but teams are scared off by him because all these red flags, arrests, domestic, charges that were dropped. Cowboys just say, "Come, yep, red flags don't exist. We don't agree with those. Those are not something we care about. Come along." Didn't like the Cowboys draft.
Yeah, the only thing I could see here that I liked at all really that stood out was getting Damone Clark in the 5th round.
Oh, I like Tolbert.
Tolbert in the 3rd round is okay. That's all right.
Clark might not play this year, right? Clark might be out for the season, right?
Is he dealing with?
I think he's out. Yeah, I think he might be out for the season. That's the LSU linebacker, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think he's out for the season. So
probably why his stock dropped. What did he have, like a late injury?
I can't remember, but I think he's out. I think he's the kid who's out for the season. I like the Tolbert pick. He fits, but we know the Cowboys can draft receivers. It's like the only thing that's like that and offensive linemen are like what they usually draft right. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong about Tyler Smith.
And then the other teams that I just, I went down the line and I was going, is there a player here that I like? And it's like, no. And that's San Francisco. Tyrion Davis Price in round 3?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And Danny Gray in round 3, the wide receiver from SMU? I'm sorry, but I just did not like I was very confused with what the Niners were doing. Yeah. So, but, they've had good drafts. So I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Damon Clark had spinal fusion surgery for a herniated disc.
Okay. So there you go. Only one quarterback in the 1st round, and maybe this is going to be the draft that changes everything. As far as whenever you see a questionable group of quarterbacks, teams aren't going to reach. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see there are some smarter general managers out there. And locally. By the way, it's interesting. You bring up Thornton. Here's a kid who's the 2nd round pick. For the Patriots, and he's got all that fast 40 time. He had a pretty productive senior year. Okay, it wasn't anything tremendous, but it was productive. Then you take a look at a guy like Bo Melton, who goes to the 7th round. The only difference between Bo Melton and Tyquan Thornton is Tyquan Thornton's a little bigger. That's about it. I'm sorry, and I'm not being I'm not trying to be a homer here, but I just think Bo Melton is every bit as talented as Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, I just think Tyquan Thornton probably has better tape because Bo Melton
Play with a crappy quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, the offense he played in didn't feature him nearly enough. So,
and Fodakasi did not even get drafted. That was surprising.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, high tackle linebackers who don't make plays behind the line of scrimmage are kind of a dime a dozen in the NFL. It could be a good player, but that didn't surprise me. Pacheco, we didn't mention Pacheco. He got drafted. That was a nice move to the Chiefs too, I think, right? So
Yep.
like he'll probably have a huge touchdown somewhere along that 85-yard catch and run.
He'll have a shot. Yep. He's got the speed, so good luck to him. And that will wrap it up. So we really now, it's going to be about teams are now going to check out who gets cut after the draft as far as veterans. Okay, we don't really need to, now that we got the guy we want, now we can cut this guy because we really can't afford him. And then then there are going to be teams making these kind of moves over the next couple of months, including.
Then there'll be the flip side of those moves, which is we didn't draft so-and-so, so now we need to find him as a veteran. Like, I think the Saints reportedly already today agreed to a contract with Tyrann Mathieu. Yep. So it's like we didn't get we thought we might end up in the second round with Lewis Cine. We didn't. So now we need Tyrann Mathieu. So, James Bradbury, obviously on the trade block for the Giants, maybe a team that didn't get a corner. Like the Giants obviously were bummed that the Chiefs got Trent McDuffie and the Fayetteville State kid because that's a spot they were hoping to dump James Bradbury. So he's available for a team that didn't get a corner. And Baker Mayfield, obviously. I think we should spend a minute on Baker. Where does Baker Mayfield? He ain't going to the Panthers. They just invested next year's third-round pick in Matt Corral, so he ain't going there. What is Baker Mayfield's market right now? To me, I think it's Seattle or bust. I really do. I don't see who else is, because you can't bring him in as a guy who's going to be your backup quarterback. No. He'll rock the boat.
Yeah.
So who would bring him in with a legitimate chance to start? To me, it's Seattle or bust.
Well,
Detroit, would they have a Goff versus Mayfield competition?
No. I think what Detroit proved by not drafting a quarterback is that they really believe that the way Goff played at the end of last season is what they're going to roll with for at least another year, and hope that he can continue to, alleviate the offense, So I think.
To me, it's Seattle or bust. The Drew Lock versus Baker Mayfield competition is what they're going to have to me.
What does he have? Only one more year left on his contract?
Baker?
Yeah. Is that the reason why it's only one more year left?
That's the reason he hasn't been traded. He has 1 year and $18 million on it. So Cleveland.
Well, now they wait until
Cleveland's
training
camp. Need to eat some of that money to take him.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, they're going to wait. More than likely, you would think, unless it's Seattle, you wait until somebody gets hurt and desperate. We just lost our starting quarterback, and we feel we're a playoff team.
Yeah.
So, because he's got to go somewhere. It's unfortunate. And then look, I hope wherever he goes, first of all, he's got to get healthy. And maybe the best thing for him, to tell you the truth, is that he doesn't play. Is that he goes somewhere and he sits on the bench and he gets healthy and he learns.
Maybe that's good for him. That won't be good for his teammates.
Well, I'm not saying at Cleveland.
I'm saying anywhere he goes, he's going to be a miserable backup.
That's true. Yes.
So that's an energy you don't want in your clubhouse, in your locker room. Look at me, clubhouse, Major League Baseball. That's an energy you don't want in your locker room as a backup quarterback, in my opinion.
Well, but I will say this is his opportunity. That if he gets traded and because we know the Cleveland situation is just, I completely agree that even the best of quarterbacks with a good head on their shoulders, and I'm a team guy, would probably not be happy, and it would rub off. But if he goes somewhere else and he ends up the backup, it's now his chance to change everything. I'm maybe somewhere I'm happier. I'm going to be a team guy. I'm going to get healthy, and maybe I can be the starting quarterback here in 2023. You re-sign me, and then I can get my career back. And if he doesn't, and if he pouts, well, then he doesn't deserve to be a starting quarterback somewhere else. Then he's just a baby.
You got to follow the Trubisky mold.
Yeah, and that would be a disaster because that's not going to go anywhere. More than likely, those guys are just how many times? I mean, you get a Nick Foles only once every 10 years, once every 15 years, where a guy like that actually ends up in a good situation.
And now he's available too. So a team that is just looking for a steady backup is going to sign Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Not trade for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see where Nick Foles heads. That's true. Can you just off the top of your head think of what system works the best out there for Nick Foles?
Jacksonville. Doug Peterson.
There you go. Backup.
Go be Trevor Lawrence's backup.
That makes sense. That probably is what's happening. Because who is their backup? Jacksonville. I don't even know who their backup is.
I don't know, but it isn't gonna. Whoever it is probably gonna lose the job to Nick Foles.
Yeah, he's the backup quarterback is C.J. Beathard.
What's gonna happen
there? All right, so if you haven't picked it up yet, here it is, the Ourlads 2022 Draft Guide. So order it, ourlads.com. And you also want to order the Ourlads Draft Review Guide as well, which will be coming out in a couple of months. So, Ryan, rookie mini camp, next week? Couple weeks?
Next week for the
next
Giants.
Week.
Yep.
And then after that, so it's rookie mini camp, then it's OTAs.
Correct.
And then we have to wait to training camp.
Well, no, mandatory mini camp. So where all the veterans have to come. So.
Yeah. So Becton can't just stay wherever he wants.
Correct.
Okay. All right, sounds good. We'll talk to you again real soon. What are you working on at the Post?
Draft stuff. Got to get to know these new guys. Features. Meet your new New York NFL players.
All of them, Giants and Jets.
Yeah. I'll dip into both. I'll call Breece Hall's coaches. I'll call Wan'Dale Robinson coaches. I'll do it all. So.
Breece Hall, boy, that was awesome. I was so nervous that the Bills were going to get him. I just never honestly thought that the Jets were going to get a chance.
I thought that was one of the smarter moves Douglas made, was trading up a Giants-Jets trade to jump the Texans at 37 because the Texans were probably going to take him at 37. So
yeah. He said he didn't say the team, but we know which team it was. It was probably Houston. So. Yep. All right, Ryan, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again sometime, hopefully in the next month or two. It should be quiet. We don't talk every week, obviously during the off season, but we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. See ya.